There's a new way to move in Grenada. Ride Go. Ride Go is here. Ride Go. Where do you want to go?
Are you a progressive young leader, a proactive emerging executive, a rising professional? Then you need appropriate cover for your vehicle. Introducing the Pro Motor Plan from Beacon. Car insurance that includes free loss of use, windscreen cover up to $3,500, free special perils, free accident forgiveness. Get Beacon's Pro Motor Plan today. Don't procrastinate. Call Beacon today at 440-4447 or visit beacongrenada.com.
Yeah. Yes. Right along live. Welcome to the ride. Welcome to Tuesday on the ride. Yeah, man. Winston, how you doing? As you guys come and go ahead and share up the thing right now. Share it, share it, share it, share it, and share it. Very interesting and important conversation today on the ride. Yeah, we have attorney at law, Jerry Edwin. And there's a lot to talk about. I know a lot of us been following the whole Venezuela development, right? We've been following what's happening in Trinidad. We've been following the requests by the U.S. government to install a radar system or military assets in Grenada, the requests. And you know, Jerry Edwin is an international man, right? He has various perspectives. He's not just a criminal attorney. He has perspectives on all these things. So I think, you know, let's start this conversation here, and especially a day like today. It's a Tuesday when we want to know what's pissing you off, and that is surely pissing off a lot of people because we don't know where we stand at the moment. A lot of people is talking about it. So Jerry Edwin is my guest today. And yes, we have a lot to talk about. So as you come in and share the thing, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it, share it. Hey, Shirley, how you doing? Alice, how you doing? Lydia Luzan, how you doing? Big up yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody share it. Put it on a page. Let me do it as well. Let me put it on a page as well over on my end. Let me put it over on my end. Hey, nice. Gibson, Alice Gibson, how you doing? Nice. Thank you. Let me share over on my page. Guys, I know what I want you to do as well. I want you to add followers. Because when you add followers, what happens is that all your friends and everybody that follow you, they get a notification that we're on. Cinda, Charles, how you doing? I'm at followers here as well. Nice. Thank you. Folks on YouTube, Philip Caesar, welcome to the ride. Thank you so much. Nice. Love to have you on board. Guys, yes, so let's get right into it because this is a very important topic, right? And I have something that I wanted to say before I started that conversation with Mr. Jerry Edwin today. Now, last week I did a video, and it was at the heightened stage when there were allegations that the U.S. was about to send a request to Grenada in regards to that the use of the mainland of Grenada to store military asset in Grenada. That was a request by the U.S. military. But after I did that video, shortly thereafter, the video went viral, 150 something thousand views or whatever the case is. A lot of people called me back and they was very, very scared, right? I just wanted to say that the intention was not to scare anybody. The intention was to give the information as we knew it at that point in time. In addition, we did a follow-up show the day after, right, where we detail exactly what the request was. And the request that was sent in from the US, as stated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the screen, the US is requesting, is asking for the use of a space or an area to store this military asset. And the Grenada government, through the Foreign Affairs, put out this statement. And they are saying, and they said here in the statement, that we wish to assure that all our citizens that any decision taken will be guided by Grenada's sovereignty, public safety, and national interest, including the protection of our tourism industry, the traveling public, and the country economy well-being. Now, in that video, that same video, I also stated the difficulty of that decision, because we all know that this decision is probably one of, or will be one of the biggest decision that probably the Honorable Deacon Mitchell-led administration will have to make, because if he do approve the installation of these radar system, he will be heavily criticized. And if he don't, so if he do or if he don't, it will be criticized one way or the other. So it was, and as I said, it's a difficult decision. So far, the government has not made an official declared position on this situation here at hand. There are a lot of talk about it, but the government have not yet made an official statement as it relates to a final decision, and we await that. So joining us right now to talk a little bit more about this and other matters is, of course, criminal defense attorney Jerry Edwin, very prominent criminal attorney there in Grenada. You guys know him very well. Jerry, welcome to the ride, my friend. How are you doing today?
Thank you, brother. I'm doing well. Pleasure to be with you.
As always, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you on the ride. Before we get into this, Jerry, I don't know if you have any space in your schedule to just give us a little update on. I know last week we were supposed to meet, but you got tied up in a meeting. We were trying to find out about the latest on that incident that I know you represented two of the accused in that alleged rape and kidnapping and all these charges on these young men who are alleged to have raped this student from SU. Any update on that case you could talk about right now?
I can tell you that all three of those young men have been remanded to the Richmond Hill prison. It's really unfortunate because one of them actually was he was on bail, Junior, for the commission of a capital offense, murder.
Oh.
And it is while he's on bail. In fact, we had secured for him, because of his age, his youthful age, the court had agreed not to place him at Richmond Hill in the commission of the allegation of the murder. And so you can imagine the disappointment from his family in particular, and from his attorneys, that liberty and you are engaged in conduct that will ensure some long-term time at the Richmond Hill prison. I'll tell you this, and it is again quite unfortunate. There are two brothers involved. There are three young men. One I just mentioned, and the other two are brothers. Um, and their statements to the police will not assist them. I'll say that much about it. But all
Mm,
three of those young men are behind bars awaiting the process of the court because it's rape. These are indictable matters. So the magistrate's court is just a pass through court. The
right.
proper jurisdiction for these kind of offenses, these indictable offenses, is the High Court, the Supreme Court of Grenada. So ultimately, that matter will move very quickly to be heard in the High Court. And our hope is that that the that our mitigation on behalf of these young men will not see them spending too much time at Richmond Hill. But I think it's a foregone conclusion at this point.
Right. So it's not a case where you're representing them and pleading not guilty, is it?
I would say that the evidence at this point
Uh-huh.
does not assist my client,
Okay.
my clients.
Right. And the case that we're speaking about, guys, young men, they charged with the possession of firearm with intent, kidnapping, housebreaking, and stealing, 2 counts of rape, robbery with violence, assault, and forcible detention. Uh, and
Yes.
and this is a very, very, very serious case, and we are definitely going to follow it all the way through. When is the next time those young men are due to?
In a fortnight, in 2 weeks. Let me say that I am not predisposed to think of this case through the lens of St. George's University students. Uh, the fact is that regardless of who these victims were, or are rather, they suffered horribly at the hands of these young men. And so I think it's really important that we have strong mitigation on their behalf because who knows what lurked in the hearts of minds of these young men that would have driven them to commit these kinds of offenses. As I always say, we have capital murder, we have murder cases, we have violence cases, but there's something peculiar and sinister and life enduring about sexual offenses. For the women in our audience, you never forget.
Mm-hmm.
You never forget. You never forget. With the loss of life, one could say, well, the victims go on to heaven. But sexual offenses, in particular rape, victims live with this all their lives and they pass on their pain, if it's not resolved, onto their children and their community. It's really horrible. I mean, I think that's why sexual violence is deemed a war crime by the international courts. But I hope that we can offer sufficient mitigation for these young men, and and that the court will be sympathetic. That's all we can ask for.
Sympathetic in what way, Jerry?
Well, sympathetic as is the case with justice. Justice is not retribution to this in the sense that you want to get back at the offender. There are four principles of sentencing in our courts, and these are universal principles. Yes, there is punishment. Yes, there is rehabilitation, and there is retribution. Yes, but courts do not punish, courts sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And we have guidelines for sentencing. We consider the age of the individual. We consider their prior criminal history. We consider their mental acumen. We consider all sorts of factors. We don't just dig a hole and throw people into jail. We look at them as human beings who have committed a crime, they've done something wrong, and the guidelines say how they should be treated. They are still children of God, still someone's daughter, a son, a brother, a father. And it is important for lawyers in the work that we do to present the full individual before the court rather than just a naked offender, because then that will not be justice. That will be something that looks like what happened in the old days, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That is not the way we treat with justice now.
What about rehabilitation, Jerry? Do you think that in a case like this, with these type of charges, do you think rehabilitation is something that could be looked at? Could those young men, in your observation, could there be rehabilitation for them?
Well, the book says that all have sinned and come short. That's what the book says. And many of us say we follow the book. Rehabilitation is a part of the compendium of sentencing. Everyone can be rehabilitated. Every single one of us. That is what makes us human. Yes? When Malcolm X was a petty thief and a burglar, no one thought he would become one of the greatest men that ever walked the earth. That is how he went into jail, not how he came out. Yes? So, yes, I believe every single person can be rehabilitated. All of us.
Okay, again,
It is what makes us human.
we'll follow this case. We'll follow this case because some serious charges there against this young man.
Very serious, indeed.
Right.
Yes, very serious.
Right, Jerry. So let's shift gears, because primarily I wanted us to speak about this and get your feedback on what's happening here. You're very much aware, I'm sure, of the request by the United States to have or to ask Grenada to put this military assets on or around the area of the Maurice Bishop International Airport. What's your whole take on this entire situation, Jerry?
I speak as a Grenadian, as an American, and as a former U.S. serviceman.
Yeah.
I speak also as a member of a civic organization here in Grenada called the Constitutional Reform Committee, the Citizens for Constitutional Reform. And we've actually put out a statement. Our convener is Dr. Francis Alexis. This request by the United States is steeped in great power politics.
Uh-huh.
I heard Chester Humphrey say something quite telling last night. He analogized with someone who robs your house. I'm sorry, someone who is committing a robbery, but they need to use your house as a staging point for the robbery, for the heist. He says, well, you're pretty much a co-conspirator in a crime. Our organization believes that this request for the United States is an existential threat to Grenada's sovereignty. We are asked to place a military asset. And by the way, the United States sent a blackface admiral down here to speak to us about it, as though that would make a difference. Doesn't change the fact that this request by the United States put Grenada in existential peril. Our organization believes that our government, needs to mobilize the entire population, all of us as Grenadians, whether in town halls, union halls, religious communities, and even the parliament, so that we are speaking with a united voice. I would say that we mobilize our people in diaspora as well. Those who think that our sovereignty means something. To go in front of the US embassies and say no. That the very airport, which Ronald Reagan said was the cause or the predicate for the invasion of Grenada, the airport that the Americans said in 1983 was a staging ground for military assets. It's ironical. It is now the US now wants to use that same base for a military asset, a radar station. But I don't think we are fooled. We're not fooled as Grenadians. I think the average man on the street with that sense of pride, nationhood, with the legacy of people standing, I should say, on whose shoulders we stand. We are not going to be treacherous because we want a United States visa or because our people are sending remittances from New York and Miami. We say that Grenada is an independent country, that its people can make their own decisions, and that we will not be cowed by the United States in its great power conflict with China so as to force us to make a decision under threat of force. There are many people here in Grenada who has lost their testicular fortitude because the United States has requested this of us. But I think the majority of our people are saying, they're not saying no, they're saying hell no to the United States. This is not a request that Grenada should ever accede to. Our organization believes that the entire population needs to be mobilized because of the deep threat to our very survival that such a request could entail. I'll tell you, Junior, that I never thought. I was looking at the television last night, and as someone who was involved in the 1980s and 90s with, struggle for peace, especially in the Caribbean. And remember in the 1980s, in the early 1980s, our former Prime Minister, Maurice Bishop, presented the idea of the Caribbean as a zone of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that had been echoed, not just by Grenadians, but by many Caribbean leaders, because we do not want the conflict between the great powers to affect us here. But you know what is unique about the Caribbean? We should never forget. The Caribbean is the only place in the entire world where the Americans, the British, the French, the Dutch, I think we even have a German island, where all of these interests coalesce in the middle of sovereign former African nations. Nowhere else. So there's the French Caribbean, the Dutch Caribbean, Spanish, you name it, American. They are all here with their own interests. But the focus of the United States in this request is not about drug interdiction, as we are told. They're after China. And we're not naive about that. The idea, you see, Grenada sits at a strategic point in the Southern Caribbean. If the United States wants to interdict drugs, and you're concerned about what's coming out of Colombia or Venezuela, why don't you go down to Point Fortin in Trinidad and put down that radar station? They're certainly a lot closer than us. We're 120 something miles from Venezuela. Trinidad is only about 60, 75 miles. Mm-hmm. Go to Trinidad and do it. We should ask ourselves, why doesn't the United States want to go to Trinidad and do this? And you'll understand then how the US perceives us.
But do we know for a fact that they're not, or they didn't do that in Trinidad? Trinidad actually.
I'm sorry, say again?
How do we know that that's not already done in Trinidad?
Oh, no, because
the relationship with Trinidad and the United States, as it relates to Venezuela, is the same. They
Oh no, well, the leadership,
right.
huh, the leadership, yes, but recall who make up the society in in the Twin Republic. In assessing these kinds of issues, you cannot look at what the leadership wants. In fact, if the Grenada leadership says, or any leader in the Caribbean says, it's okay for the United States to put a military asset on our shores, doesn't it intuitively, you know, that is against the will of the people? Yes?
Mhm.
That's against the will of the entire, across the entire Caribbean. Although that's what the leadership may want to do. Take Trinidad, for example. The United States want to interdict drugs. That's the best place to do it. Put that plant in the south of Trinidad. There's already an old American base there, Chagaramas. Yes, you can put a base right there. It's all, nothing has gone down. I mean, Chagaramas Naval Base since the 1950s is exclusively a military. I mean, it's no longer is used as a military base. It's used as a place where the Trinidad and Tobago police forces train and where they have their barracks. But it's a perfect place to put a radar station. Why wouldn't the United States do that when the political leadership seems to be aligned with the United States on its goals in the Caribbean? The reason is, my friend, respectfully,
Uh-huh.
that the people of Trinidad and Tobago will not stand for it. Recall that during the, and I'll give you just a small slice of it. Me, I like history. So I like to go back to the American War of Independence
Mhm.
and remember that there were a bunch of black people who joined the British and burned Washington in the American War, in the American Civil War, in America. I'm sorry, in American, yes, the War for Independence. The British put those people on a boat and they fled because the British lost the war.
Right.
They lost the war, and those people went to reside where? In Trinidad. They're called Americanos.
Mm.
They still live in Trinidad. Their ancestors are still there. And we used to joke during the Black Power era of the 1970s that the chickens had come home to roost, to borrow a phrase from Malcolm, because the black people in Trinidad and Tobago, as you know, were the leaders
Mhm.
of the Black Power movement that swept swept the region and resulted in so much profound social change. But I want to update it because I don't want to be stuck in history.
Right.
In the Western Hemisphere, Trinidad, which is what percent Muslim? 15 to 20%?
About that, yeah.
Trinidad sent per capita the largest number of fighters to join ISIS and to fight the United States in the Middle East. There is a virulent, strong strain of anti Americanism that resides in the hearts of Trinidadians. Yes? The leadership may want it, but I guarantee you I can imagine that it would not last very long. That structure wouldn't stand very long because the people of Trinidad and Tobago, they're not drinking the US coffee. They don't believe that the United States has any legitimate objective in placing a military structure. Remember, they kicked out the Americans in the 1950s, and Sparrow made a parody of it in his song, right? Moreover, the belief of the Americans is that Grenada has been softened. When you are a people invaded, you tend to think with your memory. I was not here, but I think most Grenadians, my age and a little older, would remember the sound of F-14s flying over Beausejour
Mhm.
or St. George's or other parts of the country. and the specter of American soldiers with their long guns and their armored vehicles just taking control of our beautiful little island, of bombing a mental hospital and giving you no reparations. I heard somebody say, well, we should negotiate with the Americans and tell them what we would like to get in return. You're negotiating with the devil. Yes? You have no leverage with Americans. What you have is moral. That's what we have. We have moral suasion. We stand on the side of the law. I think any government in Grenada, let me end here, any government in Grenada that gives a green light to the United States placing a military asset on our shore, that will be the last time that party will be in political office in Grenada. That's my sense.
So, Jerry, let's talk about the strategic nature. We spoke about that, right? Grenada being located where it is located. Then what is the strategic reason behind America requesting that of Grenada? What is so important about Grenada positioning that it's necessary or necessitate that request?
I think it's a ruse. I think this is really about great power politics. I think the United States is concerned that the port of Maracaibo is quickly becoming a staging point for the Chinese, for their fleet of commercial ships and their economic enterprise in the Caribbean. This would mark the first time in the modern age that non-American economic actors that is a global power has ever entered the Caribbean Sea and is putting down its footprint in a permanent way here in the Southern Caribbean. Recall that our Prime Minister just a few months ago signed a series of multilateral agreements with China. China is doing more business with the Caribbean than the United States is at present, and likely in the future will. I think this is a ruse. The United States has issues with Venezuela, and it wants Grenada to be a pawn in that enterprise. Yeah, so I think those two things are operating at once. The United States, its animus, its ongoing warfare, although it's not firing any weapons, with China, and its war against Venezuela. And it wants Grenada to be a pawn in its game against these two nations. That's my take on it. And I think we ought to resist firmly and say no, that Grenada will not be used by the United States for this reason.
Phone is on the screen, guys. 718-701-5720 if you want to participate in the conversation here. Jerry, what makes this decision difficult for the government, right, is that it could be equally, a lot of people are saying that it could be equally damaging if Grenada resists and what may follow. We know the US and the superpower and the might of the superpower. You have the IMF, the World Bank, you have everything. You have all the major travel, like aircraft, you have the cruise ships, everything. And Grenada heavily rely on tourism. So what about the economic impact of something that could follow if Grenada resists that request?
But the majority of our tourists do. We have a lot of tourists from the United States that come here, but we have a lot of Germans. We have a lot of English.
But America remain the main hub is the main hub of tourists coming into Grenada.
That's because let's look at this not as though we are somehow dependent on the United States. I tend to believe that it's American tourists that want to come to Grenada. Yes, we provide a venue for the cruise tourists industry to earn its living. If islands in the region say, okay, we're not going to have you here, you have $1 billion industry that will crash.
Mhm.
I think we think of ourselves too much as dependents, as though we're not main actors, as though our hands are always out. I don't see us that way at all, brother. I think we are, yes, we are diminutive, we are small in size,
Mhm.
but we have as much aspiration and integrity as any other country in the world. Would we
Yep.
suffer? Well, how could we suffer? The IMF is not an American organization. It's led by the United States. Often the US sits at the chair of the IMF, although no, I mean they cast the vote for the chair of the IMF, but these are international organizations. We still operate by the rule of law. Yes? So we're not dependent on the United States, and this thinking of dependency of what we will lose fails to consider what the American cruise industry will lose if they do not allow, if they are unable to earn their living from bringing their business to the Caribbean. It's a mutual relationship. We do not depend solely on American cruise ships. But I think that's the danger of dependent thinking. It says, I can do nothing. I have no agency. I need the United States to survive. Well, look, they already told us they're not taking our fish. Aren't we doing well? We're surviving. What else? They're not taking our cocoa. Well, Europe wants our cocoa if we want to sell them raw products. Yes? So tell me, what can the United States do to us as a sovereign nation? Is size and might. We've passed the days when power comes out of the barrel of a gun in international relations. That's not the way it works. But they've managed to get into our head, and I've been saying this for years. When America invaded Grenada, they didn't just simply land guns, warplanes on our shores. They psychologically embedded the idea of their power over our people. And I think that's why you have the man on the street who is saying that we have a lot to lose. I beg to differ. It is the United States that has a lot to lose should they try to ram this idea down our throats. But it wouldn't last because this is our rock.
Right. So Jerry, let me be clear. Understanding what you're saying and your organization is saying, that you don't feel like America could do anything that could impact economically, that could hurt Grenada as a sovereign nation from
No,
where
I'm
they.
not saying that. I am not saying that. We believe that the issue of placing military assets in Grenada is an existential threat to our safety, the safety of our people, and our response ought to be a national response, a regional response, an
Mhm.
international response. That's what we were saying.
Right, right. So do you think that, okay, what should the government do at this point in time? Should they go ahead and call a national conference and hear from the people? Should they reach out to CARICOM and get their back in? What should be the next move from your perspective?
Anything else is suicidal politically for the government. Because as I said, any government that decides on its own to bend its knee to the United States without consulting the people, the stakeholders, that's Harry Carey. They're done for. This kind of issue, given our history, given we're not looking at this in a vacuum, but given our history, given what we've struggled for against great powers, I'm not talking about 1979 to 1983. I'm saying our entire history, have been one where our people have struggled to assert themselves in this world from our very tiny corner. And we have made great strides, and we should never forget the success we've had standing up for ourselves. This is not the moment to think that we're under the boot of the United States, because I saw the admiral, a picture of the admiral, the black-faced military man they sent down here today. I hope that we that our government speaks to him from a position of respect, but also one of internal strength. Grenada, the OECS, CARICOM, other nations around the world should say to the United States, but these people have spoken. They've gone, the government has gone to its people and they say, they don't want your military asset. Why don't you put it on one of those ships you have combing the Caribbean Sea? You want to fight Venezuela? You want to fight China? Use your existing assets. Get Elon Musk to use one of those satellites he has roaming all over the world to detect the movement of illicit drugs, if that is what you're saying you want to do. I mean, it lays a lie. It really puts to a lie the motive of the United States to say that the purpose of this thing is drug interdiction. I think we're smarter than that.
Right. What do you say about people who think that this is setting up itself to be like a proxy war, where we have Venezuela, you have China, you have Russia, who could play a big role. Of course, China and Russia supporting Venezuela, and then you have US, two massive superpower, nuclear superpower, trying to stage some kind of conflict within the Caribbean. Do you think that is setting up itself to be some kind of proxy war?
Well, the hostility between the United States and the People's Republic of China is at an all-time high, and it's not helped by the presence of the commercial fleet of the Chinese government in Venezuela, or the pronouncements of the Russians that they will, stand with and support Venezuela in its own struggle for freedom from American independence. It's this war between the United States and Venezuela is quite on its face simple to understand. Venezuela in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, historically, had been the largest exporter to the United States of cash assets from agriculture and, of course, from fossil fuels. Venezuela has zero. I think Venezuela, I don't think Britain has zero, a zero tax rate.
Mhm.
Let me explain what that means. If a United States citizen moves to Grenada and they are receiving a pension, or they're receiving any kind of material benefit, cash benefit from any source in the United States, you must pay a tax
Yeah.
to the United States in order to receive that benefit. We had been arguing several years ago that Grenada's should be lower than it is. It's 14% now. The countries with the lowest amount in the entire Caribbean, and I believe likely in the entire world, is Trinidad and Tobago 1% and Venezuela 0%. And it explains why, because you see, Trinidad had exported so much fossil fuel to Aramco and those businesses that were sending oil to the United States.
Mhm.
Similarly to Venezuela, right? If you're Venezuelan, you could send money, you could receive all kinds of benefit. So it has to do with that economic, financial relationship between the United States and Venezuela. And then in the 1990s came a man called Hugo Chavez,
Yeah.
and that changed the entire equation. But I think you're right. Essentially, we have global politics, big power politics playing out on the stage of the peaceful Caribbean. And we must do everything to resist any part of that, any part of that. Is it a proxy war? Is it a proxy conflict? Likely, the United States is looking for a proxy. Trinidad has said, we're with you, United States. Why don't they take Trinidad as a proxy? For the reasons I gave, I don't think the people of Trinidad and Tobago will accept that.
Right.
Well, I think Grenada ought to join that camp and let the United States know that we speak with one voice and that we want no part of any military conflict between these great powers.
Sure.
We're a peaceful people.
So what should be the role of the UN in this situation here? We're seeing so many different things happening in the Caribbean. Just today, there were a vessel carrying, I think, 5 fishermen
Yes.
that was blown up out of the waters in the Caribbean. So, you remember the UN was formed back in 1945 after the devastation of World War II with a global prevention of with the goal to prevent a future global conflict and promote peace, security, cooperation, and among the nation, and replaces the League of Nations, which had failed to prevent the outbreak of World War II. Sorry. But this is a stage. This is staging where you bring in all the superpowers together, proxy within the Caribbean region. What is the UN? What is the UN doing, and what role should the UN play in this?
Well, I would say that the last 2 years have shown that the United Nations, save and except for its courts, the court at The Hague and the World Court, I'm sorry, at the Criminal Court, save and except for the two courts, the UN has shown itself to be a dismal failure in international relations. I refer, of course, to the conflict, to the war in the war of Israel and the United States on the defenseless people of Gaza. The United Nations still, I think only in the last 2 months, did an organization call at the United Nations call the war in Gaza a genocide. I heard Mr. Gutierrez, who is the General Secretary, I heard him at Sharm el Sheikh with Trump and the others, not even using the word genocide. We are calling for, I think most of the countries in the Southern Hemisphere are calling for more democratic United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the BRICS countries are asking that there is either a removal of the ability of the Security Council to block the interest of the General Assembly, which is where most of the countries exist, and that the Security Council has been rather, a place where the great powers, overwhelmingly the United States, use their power as fiat all over the world to accomplish whatever they will. So we have to look to other organizations. The United Nations is not the only forum. It is the global forum, but we have, for example, the Commonwealth organizations. We have the Organization of American States, which are a bit more democratic.
Yes.
Where you might find people of the same interests, where the field is a little more level. And I call it moral arguments, legal arguments can be brought to bear to bring the United States to heel. Now that sounds kind of axiomatic because you cannot bring a great power to heel. Yes? You cannot tell the United States that it does not have the power to accomplish its goals. But what you can tell the United States is you are acting illegally, you are acting immorally, and you will not be supported by the countries of the world if you thwart the will of a sovereign nation. I mean, it's the reason why Israel is a pariah in the world today. They have more guns than anybody else. They're supported by the United States, and still they lose. Still they lose. The battle in these kinds of conflicts is always for the hearts and minds of the ordinary man and woman.
Mm.
And I think the ordinary person on the street will see the United States bullying if the will of the Grenadian people is sorry, Uncle Sam, you're not welcome to place a military asset here, and they look to exert force to achieve their goals. But I don't think the United States want that kind of relationship with Caribbean people or Caribbean nations. We are too closely linked, too closely intertwined. I think if we speak with one voice, the United States will be forced
Mm.
to recognize our decision.
When we're talking about military assets, right? I think we need to clarify because a lot of people reached out to me and they say they're hearing that America trying to put a military base. They're hearing base. They hear asset. They think that they saw some ships, warships in a picture that was from about a couple of years ago. People thinking that the naval base is going to be situated here. They're not specific in what type of assets than a radar. But with a radar system, I know they may come with other things to at least to set up the radar, to protect the radar, to just set a radius around the radar. What's your understanding of the type of assets that America is looking to bring here?
Well, I mean, if you put a military asset on the ground, you have to have at least a unit. You have to have some kind of boots on the ground to protect it. Yes. To collect the data, to protect the data. Yes. So I would not even want to go any further than two words: NO.
Mm.
Yes, that the placement of a military asset at Morris Bishop Airport immediately makes the airport a target. Immediately
Mhm.
makes Grenada a target in any conflict involving the United States and who knows, right? Our neutrality must be clear that that's our main concern, the safety of our people. We're not, we're not, we love the United States. We love the people of the United States. Were it not for the United States, many of us wouldn't have the opportunity to build our families, to get better health care. Do I need to go on? I mean, the thing speaks for itself. We have no beef with the United States. All we're saying is that you have a conflict with Venezuela, with China, with Russia. Grenada wants no part of it. That's our position. But if we say yes, it comes with too much baggage. Forget the safety of our people. It comes with too much baggage. For one thing, it'll start with that, and next thing you know, the coast of Grenada will be lined with American warships. This is the Atlantic Fleet, so it would be the Fifth Fleet coming out of Puerto Rico. Yes, and we have a militarized Caribbean, Southern Caribbean. Who wants that? We don't want that. We want the Caribbean to be a zone of peace, maintain good, amicable relations with the United States and all the countries of the world, not to be used as a proxy in a great power military conflict.
Right. With the cruise ship season starting in just a matter of days, Jerry, in Grenada,
Yes,
we
yeah,
expect hundreds. I saw the schedule today, like every day in October, November.
yes, it's quite a bit. You see how much they need to dock these ships down here.
Yeah,
They need us more than we need them
a lot.
when it comes to the cruise stories
And the funny thing
industry.
about it, Jerry, when you look at the mall, take for instance, you're in the mall, you're familiar with the mall. On a day that the cruise ship or when the cruise ship season is not on, it's a empty. I mean, very few people inside of the mall, but when there is a cruise ship, we see the impact that it makes for small and big businesses.
Of course.
Do you think that even if there is not a full out invasion, that would somehow deter cruise ships from coming down that side because of what's happening right now in Venezuela? Do you think that that might be, or there may be any deterrent as a result?
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Understand that.
The cruise industry benefits profoundly from the business they do in the Caribbean. I mean, Grenada is even one of the outposts. I think we're the last chain of islands that are visited by the cruise ships. But it's a, I mean, we the cruise industry needs these islands because without us, there is no business. There is no cruise industry without our islands. I think, the ordinary man, the ordinary visitor who has a couple $1,000s and lives in Ohio and wants to come on the beach and go on a cruise ship and visit the lovely Caribbean, I don't think they're thinking of any of this. I don't think they're thinking of anything like what their country. Now, mind you, that's different if their country issues a warning or they blacklist us as a place that is unsafe. But objectively, we know how safe we are. And we've been welcoming to all our visitors, wherever they are from, and will continue to do that. It's the nature of the Caribbean. The Caribbean is not involved, especially the English Caribbean. There's one thing that's very unique again about us. So many things unique about us, our brother, that if you look at our cultures, I mean, we are a true world melting pot. Chinese and Portuguese and Indian and African and indigenous people in Guyana alone, right? In Jamaica, we have Chinese people, black, you name it. Look at St. Vincent, ancient cultures. Look at Grenada, East Indians, Lebanese, Africans. Look at Trinidad, almost the same thing, right? And various religions. We are the peaceful Caribbean, welcoming to all of our friends, but we are not engaged in the war business. That is not who we are. We want this area to be a zone of peace. And the tourist industry is the cruise industry is a vital part of our local economy. And I don't see any reason why this will stop. No reason at all.
Right. Do you think that, or are you think you're hearing from the political leaders, both on the opposition and the government side?
I know where you're going, Brother Junior. I think that's a real mistake that the government has not reached out to its stakeholders immediately, because this issue has raised so much national conversation. Almost everywhere you go, you get an opinion on it. I think the government needs to engage its people right away. Right away. Get us involved. And our organization, led by Dr. Alexis, is saying that is exactly what we should do. In the parliament, in the trade unions, organizational churches, teachers. Because this is what we're Yankee Stadium full. Yes?
Yeah, true.
Our people must become involved in something like this that can alter our lives permanently. So I think the government really needs to come to us and begin that national conversation.
When the government said in this press release sent out by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the last paragraph, where they said that we wish to assure that our citizens that any decision taken will be guided by Grenada's sovereignty, the public safety, and national interest, including protection of our tourism industry, the traveling public, and the country's economy and well-being. Wasn't that strong enough from the government at this point in time, or do they need to say more right now?
Well, we need our government representatives to come and talk to us now. It's a good first start, but the people are saying, come to us, take our opinions. Let's go to the parliament if we have to. But we believe that a press release is not the way to reach your people. You have to come to the ground and meet with us. They know how to do town hall meetings. They did it all in all of the election, run up to the elections. There was town hall meetings every week, even in New York and London and Miami. Come here, talk to our people. Go to New York and Washington and Miami and talk to our people. Let's speak from the same hymn book. I think overwhelmingly, our people do not want to see peaceful Grenada involved in any global conflict. That's strictly United States military objectives, and our airport, which was intended for peaceful use, should not be converted, ironically, by the United States into a military staging station, or it shouldn't have any military assets of any kind.
Right. And with the admiral coming into Grenada today, meeting with the leaders of the Caribbean, what do you think that would come out of that discussion, or what would you like to see come out of that discussion?
Yeah, yes, of course, I would not know, but I certainly would hope there's a resounding no that none of our islands ought to be used as the placement of military assets. I mean, the United States has Puerto Rico, it has the U.S. Virgin Islands, yes, it has the skies above us and the sea below, yes. What's the point except for I think this is a new version of big stick diplomacy to tell us that the United States can do what it wants. But I think in part it's driven by a sense of ownership since 1823 that the United States has had of the Caribbean. President Monroe said that this area is theirs and no great power should ever come into this region. So it's not surprising that with the arrival of the Chinese commercial interests and with the announcement of Russia that they will come to Venezuela's aid, that we are now drawn into this conflict.
Right. What should be the role of the media? Because some people are saying that our position, and whenever we speak about stuff like this, we're actually scaring people because the government have not yet made a decision. People are saying, let the government do its work. Let the government make the decision. Let it handle it. Let it take their time. Let it assess. Let it do all the diplomatic stuff privately. And then they come out after they have a holistic view of what's happening. And the media should start off, media and organization like yours should really wait and let the government do its work. What do you say about that?
That's not the way democracy works. Yes? The people, in fact, the government cannot on its own speak for us without involving us. The government works for us. They are obligated, especially in issues where, as I said, national safety and survival is at stake. It is paramount that we become involved. We could have had a different discussion as to what the government's discussion with the United States is, had they chosen to do so. I think it's about a week now, almost a week, and we haven't heard a beep from the government.
Right.
But it's our lives at stake. So it's only natural. I mean, I don't think we've had a more important story in the last 40 years, 44 years, I would argue, than the United States asking Grenada, I wouldn't say demanding because I don't think it's a demand, but asking Grenada to place a military asset here. You recall, let me say lastly, in Caracou in the early 1990s, the United States wanted to place a military base in Caracou. And there was a great struggle. Brother Clement, Martin Felix, Bernard Bone, they mobilized the community in New York and in Caracou, mostly in New York. And we went to the US Embassy. I shouldn't say we because I was actually not involved in that struggle. It was led by Brother Bone, Brother Clement, Brother Felix, and they managed to stop the United States. Managed to stop the United States from its objective of putting a military base in um, in Carrier Coup. So once we mobilize our people, regardless of who we are, once we mobilize our people, we can speak with one voice. And I think that voice will be to tell the United States, you are our friend. We recognize you as our friend, but we are also a sovereign nation. We're a member of the United Nations, and we believe it is not in our interest to have a military asset here, and the United States should accept that. I think the consequences are dire for our small island and the vulnerability of our small state.
Right. Thank you, Jerry, for your input. And we're going to be also following the movement of your organization. If you guys have anything to put out there. But again, we're watching the chat. A lot of people are saying the government is doing their job. Let's wait to the government to hear. We haven't heard anything from the opposition either. Neither.
What if the government says yes? Without consulting the people? What then?
Right. I guess.
Well, let me hope that does not happen. Yeah.
We'll wait and see, Jerry. We definitely
will wait and see.
Thank you so much
Junior.
for chatting with us. We appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you, my friend.
All right.
And good night, everyone. Thank you.
Got some closing words and your calls coming up right after this. Don't move. We'll be right back.
The sun is hot. The breeze is low. I need a ride. Where do I go? Ride, go, yeah. That's the name. Island roads will never feel the same. Tap the app, just one click. Hopping fast, it's real quick. Right, go where you wanna go. To the beach, to the street, let the island flow. Right, go, let the good vibes show. Fastest growing ride, everybody know.
Tuk-tuk now available on Ride Go. Book now.
On Playway, $20 backup on Pick 3 and cash for each, please.
Okay, are you adding multi-X to your bet?
Yes, multi-X, all of them.
Smart! Best value bet. Backup and multi-X, you cannot go wrong.
Don't matter the bet, multi-X all of the daily games.
With multi-X added, your winnings can be multiplied 3 times, 5 times, even 7 times. So make it a rule. Add multi-X to all your Playway, daily pick 3 and daily cash for bets every day and for every drop, and watch your money grow. Available at stores and online.
You heard it here. Multiply your winnings daily. Must be 18 or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Guys, as we continue to follow everything that's happening here, everything, we are going to pay attention and keep everyone updated with the latest. We did follow that today. The heads, I believe Antigua, Grenada, I believe Dominica, is meeting with that admiral today in St. George, and we expect to hear something back. Hopefully, we'll learn a little bit more, probably tonight or tomorrow. And whatever it is, we'll make sure to bring you up to speed here on Ride Along Live. Nonetheless, it is a topic of discussion. Whether we choose to discuss it or not, it is, I mean, international news agencies are talking about this. I think that it is important that we have a consensus. Our people should know what's going on. We should bring it out to the public responsibly, not to alarm or to scare anyone, or not to make people feel like they should live their life in fear or go to sleep and feel like something is going to come dropping out of the air. Not to make people feel like the whole American army is going to be stationed in Grenada. not to make it seem as if also that we are going to be having a full military base that's going to be permanently stationed here. What we do know, it was a request from the US government. That's what we know at this point in time. The request by the US government and a press release put out by the Grenada Ministry of Foreign Affairs stating that, in fact, they received that request and stating in that press release that they wish to assure the citizens that any decision taken will be guided by the sovereignty of Grenada, the public safety, and national interests, including the protection of our tourism industry, the traveling public, and the country's economic well-being. All of this stuff will be taken and is taken into consideration as Grenada makes a decision. But nonetheless, guys, we are going to continue to follow this story responsibly. Again, not to alarm anyone, not to get anyone feeling like they can't go to sleep or they can't go or they can't fly a plane to Grenada. It is not that. That is not where we are at the moment. Someone called me and they say, is it safe for me to get a JetBlue to go to Grenada? Listen, I would be in Grenada in just a couple of days. So that is not the case, right? But we need to be responsible in our utterances, right? Every media outlet, because as I said, it's very easy to put out information there that are not grounded in facts, that could set up people anxiety level, and we do not want to do that. All right. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for being a part of our program today, guys. I got to tell you about our sponsor, the folks who work hard to ensure that we're on the air every day. I got to big up to, now we have a whole team, a whole section of the company that manages transportation, and that's called Ride Go. I forgot to offer Jerry opportunity to download the app and try Ride Go. So Ride Go, what you've been hearing about, guys, it's a transportation center. It's like an Uber app, right? So, for those of you in North America who used Uber before, it's an app that sits on your phone, right? And when you want to get a taxi, you just press the app, you request the vehicle, because there's so many different vehicles as option. You request the vehicle, and in no time, the taxi would come to you. It's very, very simple. So whether you're at home or you're in a party, you're hanging out, you miss the bus, or your daughter or your son or whatever, they're late and they need to get somewhere quickly, Ride Go. So you download the app. It's in the App Store right now. You download the app and you just tap the app, put in your information. It already know your current location. It would send a car to you wherever. Now, for those of you who live in the US and Canada, right, Grenadians, or you have family back home in Grenada, you too should download the app. Let me give it a link. I'll tell you why. If you live in Canada, the US, anywhere, you should download the app, because, let me put the link, because once you have Ride Go, you may have a family member that might get stranded somewhere, or you want to send a taxi to your mother or your sister. You don't want them to have to walk after they get off the bus. You want to go straight to the home. You could sit in the US or Canada, put in their destination, their location, their destination, and a car will go to them and pick them up. And you're all the way in the US. You're all the way in the US, but you could get a car to pick up your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. It's very, very simple. Download the app right now. It's called Ride Go. You go into the App Store, whether you have Android or you have Apple, go into the App Store and type in Ride Go. RYDEGO. Very, very simple. Download it. The link is right there. In fact, let me take a couple minutes to shout out a few of our top fans, because this week we're celebrating 2,500 members, and that's a big celebration. We no longer have any more rentals, but if you go in and you don't want to drive, Ride Go. So we currently don't have any rental. All right. Right. So I want to big up some of the top fans. So this week we celebrated 2,500 members on Ride Go, which is great. So we're giving our top fans a discount for the whole entire week. For the whole entire week. For the whole entire week, guys, you could get 7%. We're starting with 7%, and it's going to increase for today, tonight, tomorrow. If you get on the Ride Go, you could get 7%. By the weekend, it's about 10% off your next trip. Okay? So I just see who we have. Casey, big up yourself. Just sign up to Ride Go. Thank you, Casey. I see you. Big up yourself. Yeah, just click the link, go into the App Store, whether you have Google or Android or you have Apple, and type RideGo, RYDEGO. Tap the app, download, create a quick account. It takes less than a minute. And just like that, you're done, you finish. You're ready to request a ride. And again, the taxi is coming to you. It's coming to your home. It's coming to your office. It's coming to you 24/7. Sometime in the middle of the night. Very accessible, very easy. You're going to need it at some point in time. Trust me. You would need it at some point in time, whether for you or a family member. Download Ride Go into the App Store right now. Next member just signed in. I got to big up Jessica. Thank you for joining us on the Ride Go. I see you, Jessica. Big up, Jessica. Welcome to Ride Go. And again, guys, we have a 24-hour hotline. If you ever have any issues, whatever problems, you could always call up our hotline. Number is 473-403-1011. So you could always call us up and we'll sort you out, all right? Big up yourself. Yes, thank you. Got some new members. Welcome to Ride Go. Yeah, even if you don't live, good night. Graytel, Charles. Big up yourself, Graytel. Thank you. Just download the Ride Go app, guys. Download the Ride Go app. It takes less than a minute to sign up an account. And this is going to be your best friend. You need to put that app on your front of your screen. You need to put that app on the front of your screen. Like at the bottom. Because that's going to be your most requested, the most used app. Okay? That's going to be your most used app. Download Ride Go right now in the App Store. Ride Go. Where do you want to go?
There's a new way to move in Grenada. Ride Go. Ride Go is here. Ride Go. Where do you want to go?
Are you a progressive young leader, a proactive emerging executive, a rising professional? Then you need appropriate cover for your vehicle. Introducing the Pro Motor Plan from Beacon. Car insurance that includes free loss of use, windscreen cover up to $3,500, free special perils, free accident forgiveness. Get Beacon's Pro Motor Plan today. Don't procrastinate. Call Beacon today at 440-4447 or visit beacongrenada.com.
Okay, guys, thank you everyone for watching, for being a part of our program here tonight. On behalf of all of our production team here at Ride Along Live, our senior executive producer, Lois JJ, and all the team here, say good night. Catch you guys again tomorrow. Catch you later.